She was the smallest, quietest thing on that busy street. While suits rushed past and engines purred in front of glass skyscrapers, a little girl with dust on her cheeks and sleep in her eyes stopped in front of the tallest building on the block, a bank with doors so big they made her feel even smaller. Her name was Leah. In one hand, she held nothing. In the other, she squeezed an old, faded bank card, like it was the last piece of her life that still belonged to her. Before we go on, if you believe no child should feel this alone, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that miracles still happen. Your support helps this channel spread more kindness into the world. Now, back to Leah. The lobby of Sterling Gate Bank shimmered with polished marble and golden light. Screens flickered with stock prices. Phones rang. Laughter from wealthy clients echoed off the high ceilings. Everything smelled like money. And everything about Leah screamed that she didn't belong there. Her t-shirt was torn at the shoulder. Her jeans were too short. Her shoes were scuffed and worn. People turned to stare as she stepped onto the shiny floor, some frowning, some whispering, most just uncomfortable. Leah didn't look at them. She stared straight ahead at the customer service desk, her heart pounding so loudly that she could barely hear her own thoughts. All she wanted was one thing, to check the balance on that card. Not to be rich, not to be special. Just to find out if the last promise her mother ever made to her was real, or if it was just one more thing the world had taken away. Leah hadn't come to this bank because she felt brave. She came because she had nothing left. For 2 days, she had wandered the city with a few coins in her pocket. She'd slept on benches. She'd ignored her stomach as it twisted in hunger. She'd watched people look away from her as if eye contact might cost them something. Her mother had passed away months earlier. Before she died, she had pressed a small white card into Leah's hand and said, "Whatever happens, never lose this. One day when you really need it, it might save you." Leah had carried that card everywhere, but she had never used it, never even checked it. Part of her was afraid that if she did, she'd discover it was worthless, and that her mother's last hope had been empty. But that morning, as cold wind cut through her thin shirt and her stomach burned from hunger, she realized she couldn't wait anymore. Either the card was a miracle, or it was nothing, and she needed to know which. At the center of the bank, in a glass-walled office that overlooked everything, sat Damian Cole. You might have seen his face on magazine covers. Billionaire investor, real estate king, the man whose decisions could cause entire companies to rise or fall. Damian was used to VIP clients, private jets, and special treatment. He was not used to children with dust on their faces walking into his world. Down on the main floor, Leah reached the counter and carefully slid the card toward the woman behind the desk. I just want to see if there's anything on it," she whispered. The woman's name tag read, Sophia. Sophia's eyes softened at the sight of this tiny girl trying so hard to stand tall. "Of course," she said gently. "Let me check that for you." She typed a few things, then frowned at her screen. The card was old, really old. The account was in a deep archive, connected to systems only the executive terminals could access. To Leah, it just looked like Sophia was hesitating. Her heart sank. Is it broken?" Leah asked quickly. "It's okay if it is. I just wanted to know." Sophia shook her head and offered a small smile. "It's not broken. I just need to use a different computer for this. Come with me, okay?" Leah nodded and followed, clutching the card like it might disappear. Sophia led her right past the velvet ropes, right past the staring customers, right toward Damian Cole's exclusive section. Damian looked up from his conversation as Sophia approached with Leah. He paused. A child? In this part of the bank? His first thought, a publicity stunt, a prank. Maybe someone filming a video to catch the billionaire's reaction. Sophia leaned close and spoke quietly. "Her card is linked to an old trust account. The system is asking for executive-level access. I think you should handle this one." Damien smirked, leaning back in his chair. "An executive to check a little girl's balance?" he joked. "All right, let's make sure she isn't hiding a few billion in there." People around him chuckled. Leah didn't. Her hands shook as she held out the card. Her eyes flicked nervously around the room. Every laugh, every sideways glance felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. She just wanted the truth. Damien took the card, still amused, and slid it into the reader. One tap, a few clicks, and then silence. The smirk fell from Damien's face. He leaned forward. His eyes narrowed, scanning the screen again and again. This had to be wrong. He opened a secondary system, cross-checked the account, traced the trust. Sophia watched him. So did half the floor. The air shifted, from mocking curiosity to complete, stunned attention. The account wasn't empty. It wasn't low. It was massive, larger than some of Damien's high-profile clients. Leah, the girl standing there in a torn shirt and jeans, was sitting on a fortune, and she had no idea. As Damien pulled up the file, the story unfolded on his screen. Years ago, Leah's mother had worked at a small community center. There, she met an older entrepreneur named Victor Hale, a quiet, generous man with no family of his own. He had been sick. She had taken care of him, not for money, not for recognition, just because he needed help. In return, without ever telling her, Victor created a trust in Leah's name. He arranged it so that a portion of his investments would feed into the account every single year. He set it to grow, to compound, to be locked away until Leah needed it most. The bank card? It was never meant for everyday use. It was a key to the future her mother's kindness had earned her. And on this cold, ordinary morning, in a world that had mostly turned its back on her, Leah had finally unlocked it. Damien swallowed. He looked up at Leah again, and this time he didn't see a stray kid. He saw the legal owner of a powerful trust, a girl whose name was attached to more wealth than most adults could even imagine. Wealth that hadn't come from greed or luck, but from kindness. "Leah," he said quietly, his voice losing its usual sharpness. "Do you know what this is?" She shook her head. Her throat felt too tight to speak. Sophia knelt beside her, keeping her voice soft and steady. "This account," she explained, "belongs to you. Someone who loved you very much made sure you would be taken care of when you needed it. Like today." Leah stared at the screen, at the long string of numbers she didn't fully understand. Her eyes filled with tears. "You mean, I can eat," she whispered, almost afraid to say the words out loud. I can have a place to stay? I don't have to sleep outside anymore?" "Yes," Sophia said, her own eyes shining now. "You don't have to sleep outside anymore. Not ever again." Around them, the bank remained frozen. Clients who had been quietly judging were now shifting in their seats, faces flushed with sudden embarrassment. Damien stood. The man who once laughed at this little girl now gently slid the card back toward her with both hands like it was something holy. "Leah," he said, "from this moment on, your account is under our highest level of protection. I'm assigning my best advisors to help manage this for you." He glanced at Sophia. "She gets food, water, clean clothes, and call a social worker we trust. She needs a guardian who will put her interests first." Leah blinked, still trying to process the fact that her entire life had changed in a matter of minutes. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. "One day it might save you." That day was today. When Leah finally walked out of the bank later that afternoon, she was wearing a clean hoodie and shoes that actually fit. There was a sandwich in her bag, a bottle of water in her hand, and a folder of documents pressed against her chest that proved, on paper and in law, that she was no longer a forgotten child. The city was the same. Cars still rushed by. People still stared at their phones. The wind was still cold. But something inside Leah had shifted. The world, she realized, could be cruel. It could be unfair. It could ignore you, hurt you, abandon you. But sometimes, hidden in old pieces of plastic, in memories, in promises, there were gifts someone had left behind. Gifts powerful enough to change your story completely. And from that day on, Leah's life was no longer about surviving the night. It was about deciding what to do with a second chance. If this story touched you, don't let it end here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who's going through a hard time. Your support helps us tell more stories that remind people they are not forgotten and that kindness has a way of coming back when we need it most. Before you scroll away, tell me in the comments, what would you do if you suddenly discovered a miracle waiting for you when you least expected it? I'll be reading your answers.